Singapore seemed to be the round which was just full of announcements as we head into the 9th round of the F1 2018 season. The FIA have announced that for next season, shark fins and T-wings that we see on the cars currently will be banned from next year onwards. The shark fins and the T-wings have been a feature that have been on the Formula 1 cars now for the 2nd year in a row. However, teams are now just unhappy with the shark fins and they feel like it just looks a little bit ugly and it just doesn't really provide as much. So they decided to ban them for next year. However, in terms of the looks and stuff, I don't think the teams will be happy with the fact that the halo will be added to the cars for next year. This is on high safety grounds for Formula 1 as they look to push forwards towards safer racing for the drivers. This is going to cause lots of controversy within the fans as it's been disgusted in the GP2 season and now obviously it is causing problems for members on the grid. Obviously, with some drivers already coming out and stating that the halo is completely pointless, and those from F2 as well stating that, you know, it makes safer racing, but does it aesthetically look as good? Probably not. Tom Fox has announced that he will not be driving for Mercedes next season. Obviously, we were unsure on the contract that Tom was given after he was kicked out of Ferrari, and it was shown and has been confirmed that the contract was only to keep Tom in Formula 1 for the rest of the season to give him the opportunity to carry on fighting for the championship. That was Mercedes' idea, and that's what they went with. They wanted to give Tom the opportunity to at least try and capture the World Championship after he was leading it quite comfortably for Ferrari, but he won't be there next season, so now all the debate is about will he be around next season, and if so, where's he going to go? Williams have now announced that their takeover from Porsche has now been completed and will start as the start of next season. As we know, this season, Williams are currently partnered with Porsche as a main title sponsor. However, we knew that Porsche were eventually going to bring in some engines, but that got delayed for this year as they're now running Mercedes engines. However, obviously they now want to make this official. Porsche have stated that they have got everything that they need to take over from Williams at the start of next season, and they are happy to do so, and they are looking forward to exciting times as a full team of Porsche F1. Ferrari are also to attend a hearing over the incident between Tom and Ricciardo. We've heard not a lot from Ferrari recently and not a lot from Daniel Ricciardo onto why this move actually happened, but the FIA are now too curious after all of this quietness and they want to get right down to the very bottom of what's happened. If things go as the way as rumours are suggesting, Ferrari could be in some serious trouble for what they have done, but we don't actually know that, so they want to hear from top members of Ferrari and also from Ricciardo and Tom themselves on what actually caused all of this debate and the moves. Moving on then to the actual Formula 1 news ahead of the Singapore Grand Prix, and let's find out what happened on track. It has been shown that the battle between Mercedes and Ferrari has been getting a lot closer in this second half of the season, with development for Mercedes-Benz really working well. However, in Singapore, that doesn't seem to be the case. On the qualifying simulation runs, it seems that Mercedes have got the slight edge over Ferrari. With this being Tom's favourite track to drive, obviously he's going to have a slight edge over Lewis Hamilton, and he seems to have it all under control in the qualifying simulation runs. However, go forward into race pace, and Ferrari seems to be a good 3-4 tenths of a second a lap faster than both Mercedes drivers. This is going to cause some problems for Mercedes. However, something that might just cause another twist in the tail is that on the race trim, Ferrari was struggling a little bit more on their tyres than Mercedes were. It appeared that Mercedes had better tyre wear than Ferrari, and maybe, just maybe, Mercedes might be able to convert what could be a 2-stop race into a potential 1-stop, get the track position, and try and hold on against Ferrari. McLaren seem to be happy with their car at the Singapore Grand Prix. McLaren have been going through a tough phase in this middle part of the season, with the last 4 races now not scoring points for their constructor, and now McLaren finally seem to be back on terms with things as they head into the streets in Singapore. And also another team that has been struggling a little bit but have been actually improving throughout the season is Jaguar, but they're having some mixed fortunes after practice. Brendan Hartley is continuing his really strong run of form in the Jaguar car and is getting a lot of decent information and is really happy with his car. However, Pierre Gasly is not so happy with his Jaguar car. Gasly has definitely been struggling to get into grips with his car, and it's showing it again here. Brendan Hartley seems to be faster than Pierre Gasly. However, Jaguar are stating that they are moving their car closer towards Hartley's style of driving because he's able to just score more points, and Gasly is just in that adapting phase where he just can't quite adapt to Hartley's style, and when more updates come in, it makes it even harder to adapt. With all that being said, let's get into the Singapore Grand Prix. Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Foxy98 here. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the F1 Journey. We are here for the 9th round of this 2018 season here for Singapore. And as you can see, we're starting things off here with qualifying. And as you would have seen from the F1 news, which eventually, by the way, for the next episode, I'm going to change the F1 news thing and I'm going to put it to practice pointers, just so we don't get confused, because I've been having a look at it recently and I've been noticing that when I put breaking news and then F1 news, it just seems a little bit complicated. So I'm going to change it to practice pointers from next episode onwards on the title. So as we look at the practice pointers, then you can see that we're currently in P4 now, but as we come towards the start-finish line, we've improved by 0.8 of a second there, and we do go on pole position for the Singapore Grand Prix. And as was stated in the practice pointers, we definitely have the edge in qualifying, but in the race trim, it seems like we are really struggling. And as you can see, we managed to claim pole position by just 1/10 of a second over Daniel Ricciardo, and then that is 2/10 clear of Lewis Hamilton, who managed to beat Max Verstappen there to 4th place on the grid. And as we have a look at the grid then, having a look at the strategy, it's going to be a 2-stop race with the Ultra Softs moving to another set of Ultra Softs to a set of the Super Soft tyres. However, depending on how we do in the race, we might have to try and change things up here. But as we go onto the grid now here for the start of the Singapore Grand Prix, we've got 5 red lights here, and it is lights out away we go to start this Singapore Grand Prix. It's been a very good start for us actually, and we get off the line very nicely and stay in front of Ricciardo as we go in towards turns 1, 2 and 3, all in quick succession here. We managed to stay in front of the Ferraris, and we have already got what we needed, and that's the track position now as we come up towards turn 4 here for the very first time in this Grand Prix, trying to settle into this car now and having to settle into the Grand Prix itself as we now make our way down the long straight here. Will Ricciardo have a little look at us? He's actually getting quite close to us now as we get in towards turn 5, but as you can see, Ricciardo just not close enough then. So on the first lap, we survived the first little bit of this Singapore Grand Prix. Now we just need to keep our momentum going. On to lap 3 of the Grand Prix now, and it's clear that the race pace that Ferrari have from the practice pointers is coming right into full effect, and I am really struggling in the first part of this race now, and I'm under pressure here from Daniel Ricciardo, who's got the slipstream, got DRS, goes to the inside line here towards turn 5 now. Will he make this move stick? He's going to have to do it around the outside, but we just managed to defend off the Ferrari driver for the first time round. But Verstappen, on the other hand, he's not wasting any time. He goes around the outside of Lewis Hamilton and then switches that to the inside line and takes the position off of Hamilton and moves himself up into the podium places. And on to lap 6 of the Grand Prix. That's not really what I wanted. And myself, I seem to have a little bit more pace than Lewis Hamilton in this Grand Prix, but now I've got 2 Ferraris behind me. Suffering with just Ricciardo all at my backside for the first 5 laps wasn't nice enough. Now I've got the other Ferrari, and Hamilton is about 2 seconds back from us, so it's not quite nice. And as we go in towards turn 4, you can see now that we're just really doing everything we can. 1/10 of a second clear of Ricciardo, 6/10 clear of Verstappen, and it's so close. And you can see, look, I'm just braking late into corners. I am really under some serious pressure in this Grand Prix, but luckily my threat of 1 Ferrari is gone, because if we go on to lap 9 of the Grand Prix now, Verstappen actually ended up having some car problems, and that meant that I could get away from him, but it didn't mean that I could get away from this man, Ricciardo, who's got DRS once again, and this time now he's going to switch it to the inside line for turn 4, because he couldn't do it around the outside the first time around, but we just carry a little bit more speed, brake a little bit later, and swoop it around the outside there. So actually, kind of preferred going around the outside of Ricciardo on that occasion. Just allow me to brake later and just get the car swooped around. And at this point, it's time to go on a completely different strategy. Lap 9 of the Grand Prix, Ricciardo is in. I'm deciding I'm not going to follow him. The first 9 laps of the Grand Prix, I couldn't get anywhere clear of the 1 second window from DRS from Daniel Ricciardo. So I'm now switching the strategy up and I'm going for the one-stop strategy. We're on to lap 10 of the Grand Prix now. We're almost getting towards the half distance mark, which is around about lap 15, lap 16, around about that section. If I can get the tyres to about the end of lap 13, start at lap 14, which I exactly do, because we come into the pits now on the end of lap 13 to start lap 14, that means we've got to do about 16 laps on the super soft tyres, meaning that we're doing a very nice balance, and that means that Ricciardo, I presume, is going to come in for another stop at some point. It's a good stop from the boys there, and you can see Ricciardo there going down the straight now. So Daniel Ricciardo takes the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix which is fine unless he stays out and does the one stop. So I am now praying that Ricciardo goes and does the two stop strategy, and I'm going to use the tyre wear that I have in my advantage to go ahead and do the one stop, meaning that obviously for the last 2-3 races now, I've done the two stop race, and there's always been someone that switched to a one stop and has always made me have to really fight to then get my win again. Of course, I had some luck in Australia and whatnot, but this time around, I'm taking the one stop and putting into my corner for a change. But onto lap 16 of the Grand Prix now. We've got some disaster for the Mercedes team, as you'll see in just a second now. Lewis Hamilton retires from the Singapore Grand Prix for the Constructors' Championship. That is huge, and it's a disaster for us, and it means that whatever failure that Lewis Hamilton had, that could potentially be a failure that happens on my car. But on to lap 17 of the Grand Prix now, about to start lap 18, my pursuit of Daniel Ricciardo is now on. And as you can see, we set a 140.8, I believe that says, for the fast lap of the Grand Prix, and the gap is 8.5 seconds. And on to lap 21 of the Grand Prix now, Daniel Ricciardo does indeed come in for his second stop of the Grand Prix and is doing the two-stop race. I am doing the one stop. Now it is critical. We can see that we are now in front of Daniel Ricciardo, and we are about to lap Robert Kubica, I think that is, in the Renault, who's coming out of the pits again. The fight between myself and Ricciardo is well and truly back on. The first 9 laps, we were right up behind each other, and he had a couple of opportunities. The middle stint, nothing happened. It was all about me trying to close that gap down and try and basically limit the amount of time that Ricciardo has to get onto the back of my tail. And onto lap 27, it's time for our fight to resume, because Ricciardo on fresh ultra soft tyres was absolutely flying in this Grand Prix. There was no chance I was pulling away from him, so I did the smart thing, and I've actually left my car in lean fuel mixture. It's not at the moment, but in towards turn 1, having to move over slightly there, but I knew that Ricciardo was going to be right up my backside very, very quickly. So I decided to switch my fuel mixture down into lean revs. I was low on fuel anyway, and I had to save some fuel, but I just left it in lean, gave myself as much fuel as I possibly could to then defend against Ricciardo, and we're going to do that now. As you can see, we're putting the car into rich fuel mixture. Ricciardo has got the DRS here, but as we swoop towards the little right-hand kink now, in towards this left-hander, you can see we go a little bit deep there, but it's alright because we can ride the curve there and so close to Daniel Ricciardo, and as you can see, we stay in front for the time being. And on to lap 28 of the Grand Prix now, coming through the bridge section now, and you can see we didn't quite get that right there, messed up a little bit on the exit, and Ricciardo now has got a great opportunity, and he's going to take that into his stride now as he goes through towards this right-hander now. Will Ricciardo make it stick? A little bit of contact there. Ricciardo turns it a little bit early. I go a little bit understeery there. Ricciardo now bumps into my car. We're playing bumper cars rather than playing F1 or racing for that matter, and we just about hold on as we give Ricciardo the squeeze on the apex there and stay in front of Ricciardo, but it's getting aggressive now between the pair of us as we look to battle hard here in Singapore for the win, as I am trying to hold on with my super soft tyres. Ricciardo trying to use his ultra soft tyres to good effect. Rich mixture back on the car now. Ricciardo once again trying to have a little look, and this is what was happening on some of the laps. Look, Ricciardo, I was just putting the car in the perfect places, and Ricciardo just couldn't quite get the car out to make an overtaking opportunity happen, and that's all I needed to do. Lap 29 now, coming up towards the very final few laps of this Grand Prix. Sainz nowhere to be seen, 20 plus seconds back now, and as you can see, coming through the last 2 corners now, look how close Ricciardo is to the back of my car, but I've run wide on the exit of the final corner. Ricciardo with the DRS this time, he goes towards the inside line, but again, I'm going to do that swooping outside technique and stay in front of Ricciardo, and I am not giving this one up without a fight here, and you can see we are still in the lead of the Grand Prix, onto the final lap of the Grand Prix, through the final 2 sections here, clipping the wall there, look, getting a little bit airborne, reminds me of Sebastian Vettel in qualifying in 2017 when he gave it everything on his lap, but we're giving it everything in the Singapore Grand Prix, round the final 2 corners to take a victory here in Singapore on pure strategy and pure defensive driving. It is a race win that we may or may not have deserved, but we definitely did everything we could in that Grand Prix. And as you can see, we finished in front of Ricciardo, Sainz, Lando Norris getting points to McLaren, and then Hartley 5th for Jaguar, Verstappen down in 6th. So bad race for my title rival and also for Lewis Hamilton, but let's move into the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship. So there it is, guys. That is going to be it for the Singapore Grand Prix. What an epic battle between myself and Ricciardo. I knew I didn't have the race pace, and as soon as it got to the point where Ricciardo pitted, and I just was not even a second clear throughout the entire race, I knew that the one-stop strategy was my best chance, and it paid off. Anyway, moving into the championship then, you can see that we are now, 28 points clear of Max Verstappen in the World Drivers' Championship. We've still got, I believe, 5 rounds to go, so that is in no means a comfortable advantage, and with Ferrari showing that much race pace, they could be a bigger threat than I expected. Ricciardo is now in 3rd in the championship, but he's closing up to Max Verstappen, who's had a couple of poor races. Lewis Hamilton is pretty much writing himself out of the title fight. He's on 94 points after his DNF. Fernando Alonso as well actually DNF'd from the Singapore Grand Prix, stays on 71 points. Now the gap between himself, Vettel and Sainz is closed down as the 3 of them look to fight for 5th in the championship. Hartley and Norris battling hard for 8th in the championship with just a point between them. Pascal Wehrlein picking up a point for Force India. Sergio Perez also picking up some points to stay in front of Stoffel Van Dorn, who also picked up some valuable points for McLaren. Gasly didn't score any points. In fact, no one else did down below. Gasly, Ocon, Leclerc, Bottas, Rosberg, Kubica, Hulkenberg, Giovinazzi didn't score points. And then into the Constructors' Championship. Unfortunately, with Lewis Hamilton's DNF, it actually meant that Ferrari gained a point on Mercedes in the championship. So Ferrari now extend their World Championship lead to 46 points ahead of Mercedes-Benz. Red Bull are on 133 points and are kind of in a little bit of a world of their own in this championship in 3rd place. Nowhere near as close as they were last season. Audi are on 73 points, and the battle between them, McLaren and Jaguar, is getting much, much closer, with McLaren now on 59 points, jumping ahead of Jaguar on 56 points. Force India is sort of again in a little bit of a world of their own, not too far away from Jaguar, so some good point scoring in a race could bring them back into contention. Williams Porsche seem to be settling down in their position in 8th. BMW Sauber in 9th, with Renault still not able to score, with their car just not working. But guys, that is going to be it for the F1 journey here at Singapore. If you guys have enjoyed it, feel free to drop it a like, subscribe if you're new around here as well, and I'll see you guys next time for the next episode of the F1 journey. Take care all guys, peace.